Go.
What was that? Nothing. What was that? Nothing. Shh. Be very, very quiet. I'm hunting deer. What was that? Nothing. Hunting for deer has changed. No, no, no. When I was a kid, if I wanted to go hunt a deer, I just went out and hunted a deer. The end. Nowadays, there are computer forms you have to type in. There are cardboard things in triplicate. Did you know it takes less paperwork to check into a hospital? It's not so much fun either. When I was a kid, if I brought home a deer, it was cause for a major celebration. Nowadays, I bring home that deer, and my daughters start crying and sniffling. Dad stuffed Bambi! No, I tell him he was, lying on the side of the road when I picked him up and was rushing him to the vets when he suddenly expired on the front seat. Let's hold a short memorial service. Then we'll eat him. That's when they call me cannibal. No, when I was 14, there was nothing in the world I loved more than deer hunting. I only had 2 minor problems. 1, I had never been. And 2, I had no one to take me. Everyone has a first deer story. Whether they shot the prince of the forest or the skinny, scrawny, 1-antler, 3-legged, last chance shot. From the freezing cold days in the blinds to the 4 in the morning get-ups to go hunting, to the steamy stench of the cleaning. Your first deer is always one to remember, especially in A Deer on a Bicycle by Patrick McManus. My dad had died when I was very young, and none of the neighbors wanted to be anywhere near me when I was armed. And there were not a zilch deer near where I lived. So I had to come up with a plan to go hunting. What to do? Aha! I would get on my bike and ride all the way up to the tip top of the mountain and go hunting. All by myself. I hurried to bed that night, dreaming of that monster buck. I could barely sleep. I laid there shaking in my covers. I hopped out of bed that morning, grabbed my gun, and pointed around the neighborhood, and used some squirrels and rabbits as target practice. But I decided to put it down when I saw that the neighbors were closing their blinds. I was ready for that big day. I grabbed that gun, and I tied it to my handlebars. And I was off. Dun 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 dun. I'll get you, my pretty. Oh, sorry. Wrong story. So I pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped and pumped and took a short break. And pumped 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 and braked and braked and braked and braked and braked, and I finally managed to reach the top of the first ridge. At the top of the first ridge, I looked over and saw a real hunting camp with all the hunters decked out in their checkered coats with their 4-wheel drive pickups and their white wall tents. Why, when they saw me pedaling up the mountain to go hunting, they thought it was the funniest spectacle that ever come their way. They started laughing, pointing, making jokes, and carrying on for all they were worth. I just thought to myself, I'll show them. I bet they'll be surprised when I get a deer before they did. So I continued to pump and pump and pump up the mountain until a large odd amount of hours later, I managed to reach the top. There at the top, I was ready, as silent as a mouse. I grabbed my deer call and gave it a blow. That doesn't sound quite right. That's the last time I take something off the counter and randomly use it as deer call. I grabbed my bicycle and I stalked around the forest as quiet as I could until finally, all of a sudden, hops out of the brush a nice 4-point muley deer buck. And he stands there, staring at me like he's looking into my soul. Have you ever heard the expression, the deer in the headlights look? Well, I had it. I don't know what to do. I've never shot a gun before. Oh. I don't know what to do. I've never shot a gun before. So all of a sudden, I just pop up a quick shot at the deer, and it drops like a rock. I was so amazed because it was such a difficult shot too, because I was so shaky and nervous. The gun was still tied to my handlebars. Now comes the hard part. You must come up on the deer very, very carefully. Time for the secret agent. Walk up. Da-na-na. Deer, are you okay? Help, call EMS! Oh, it's too late. I examined the deer's body for bullet holes, but I couldn't seem to find any. I thought maybe he was faking it, like I did to get out of class last week. Don't tell my mom. But then I noticed that there was a chip taken out of one of the deer's antlers, and I came to the conclusion that I hit the deer so hard on the antlers that it killed it. A new problem arose. How was I going to get this deer down the mountain? Well, I had remembered some of the hunters at the hunting camp would tie their deer to the rear fender of their pickups and drag it down the mountain. So I went over to that deer and I began to drag. I began to push and push and push. I walked over to my bike and brought it to the deer. Now the hard part. Getting the deer on the bike. I bent over and I grabbed the deer and I managed to get it on the back of the bike. Ladies, I got on that bike and I was ready. I pedaled and pedaled and pedaled. I quickly realized that that was not going to work. Its antlers and front legs dragged on one side, and its rear legs dragged on the other. I had to come up with a new plan to get this deer down the mountain. I remembered I had given my friends rides over my back, a strap to the rear fender. So I grabbed one of the deer's legs, and I tied it to the handlebars. And I grabbed the other one, and I took a short break. Woo! And I tied it to the handlebars. Its head kind of rested awkwardly on my shoulder. But I was ready. I began to pedal, and pedal, and pedal. It's a lot harder riding a bike with a deer on it than you may think. Whew! And I pedaled, and pedaled, and pedaled, and finally managed to reach the edge of the steep grade when I heard a strange sound. Kinda like I don't know, like a snort. The deer's eyes began to blink. He was waking up. He started kicking and thrashing about. I guess it was his first time on a bike. Amateur. Anyways, they're going down the mountain faster and faster, quicker and quicker. I am trying to steer in and out of ruts, over rocks and under logs. Meanwhile, the deer is getting deer slobbered all over me. Oh! Anyways, I'm trying to steer down and around rocks, over rugs, and under beside logs. Then I remembered the hunting camp. Through the commotion, I managed to puff my chest out as far as I could, muster up the biggest grin I could handle, and wave, showing off that I got a deer before they did. By the look on their face, I could definitely tell that they were surprised that I got a deer before they did. Anyways, you're going on faster and faster, quicker and quicker. And I remembered I had made one monumental mistake. I had tied down the deer's front legs, but I had forgotten to tie down the deer's rear legs. And while he was kicking and thrashing about, he managed to get them on the pedals And he begins to like it. Have you ever seen a deer run? Well, let me tell you this. You haven't seen anything until you've seen a deer on a bicycle. Now we are going down the mountain and losing momentum. I can't even take a break. I managed to throw myself off the bike. Taking out 2 chipmunks, maybe a squirrel, an aardvark, a wood chipper, and softly landing on a tree. I managed to get myself up, see the deer on my bike riding off into the sunset. Later I heard that the deer was in a shootout with the police while holding up a bank using my rifle.